Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining with us. And we have very special guest today. And I would like to describe a few words with the help of PPT. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So we have Mr. Tameem Saied with us, who is NLP expert. NLP, as you all know, NLP stand for Neuro-linguistic programming. And today we are going to sit with him, understand what is NLP, and we're going to mull over much in detail about NLP. I prepared few set of questions which I will be asking with Mr. Tameem Said. I'm very excited, and this is the unique skill, and this is a skill which is very much required these days, and I'm very happy he accepted our invitations. And for Abra Knowledge channel, he will be sharing some insights on the NLP asset. So I'm very excited, and I would like to hand over the stage to Tameem Said to give some insight on NLP and introduction about himself. Thank you so much once again. I warmly welcome you.
Hi everyone, I'm Tameem Saied and I'm extremely happy with Abrar for giving me this opportunity to share my insights on NLP. NLP, as he clearly said, is neuro-linguistic programming, and it's one of the most powerful tools that any student can have in their quest for a great career. And a little bit about myself, Abrar, if time permits, I'd just like to share.
Yeah, please. Yes.
I started out in PCB manufacturing. PCB is printed circuit boards, and I have my own small unit for that. It's a family concern. And in the process of developing boards for clients, I got invited to my alma mater to give a few talks on the technical aspects of printed circuit boards. Over there, on interaction with the students, I found that a lot of students had the brilliance to do very well, but they were not coming forward to communicate. So on further analysis with the faculty, I found that a lot of them had some blocks which prevented them from opening up. And this was a big barrier in them getting placed for campus placements. So the faculty and I as an alumni, we brainstormed and we thought, let's do something to help them. Let's help them get the employability skills. And in that research, I came across neuro-linguistic programming. I learned it. I downloaded a lot of material. I interacted with those who were practitioners. And after gaining a lot of skill, we had a lot of sessions with the students of Crescent Engineering College. And it turned out to be an overwhelming success. As we started giving this NLP in the curriculum, more than 500 students got placed. And this was a pivotal year 2007. And the same success was given in 2008 and subsequent years. It as a part of soft skill curriculum itself for BS Abdul Rahman University, especially their MBA department. And from there on, I found that these skills were useful even in the corporate setup, where there were very talented employees who would not open their mouth during team meetings and discussions, but they had a lot of good stuff to say. So the same NLP techniques were able to bring out their best. And from that, I discovered that this is something, it should not be just with a few engineering colleges, or it should not be just with a few corporates. This should be a tool in the hands of every student. It's like a calculator. In fact, it's much better than a calculator. This is way beyond a normal usage. It comes in handy even as they grow in their career. So it's a real great opportunity for me to share some basics with Mr. Abrar. Abrar, you can go ahead if you have any more questions on this.
Sure. Thank you so much for your introduction. Let me start with the very first question. Could you please brief on NLP and how it evolved as a NLP concept?
Actually, NLP stands for Neuro-linguistic programming. Discoverers are Dr. Richard Bandler and John Grinder. These two were young as young researchers in the 1960s and 70s. They discovered something called a placebo effect, working in engineering and corporate setup as well. Placebo effect is something where a person believes so strongly in a certain condition that the outcome is very successful for them, but the condition is not there. They think it is there. They believe it is there. And with that confidence, they go ahead and do something and they get the outcome they want. For instance, where these two were geniuses, I would say, Bandler and Grinder did the research, was in the field of medicine, where they tested like certain number of people took a pill, which was the sugar, and a certain number of people had the actual active molecule. 90% of those who took the molecule got cured for whatever was the illness. And 30% of those who took the sugar capsule also got cured. By law of physics, biology, or whatever, nobody in the sugar section should have got clear, right?
Yes.
But 30%. How? They were so convinced that whatever they were taking is going to cure them, that you can call it a fluke, or maybe the brain released certain chemicals that helped in their healing. They did get healed. And this effect is the placebo effect, which was taken further ahead in research by these two, and they discovered NLP. They discovered that the brain holds our experiences in a certain format. And when we call upon the best way of this format, we are in a positive state, and that positive state gives us a certain confidence to achieve. So it's all about how the mindset of someone can be engineered into being in an achievement state. You can call it a peak performance, you can call it elite performance. There are many words and phrases and terminologies, because after these two invented NLP, a lot of other people got interested. A lot of big money got involved. So this copyrights, patents, the non-NLP part derailed a bit of the work, but ultimately the knowledge succeeded. Many other discoveries were made, and hopefully we can share some with that. So as a basic, it was Dr. Richard Bandler and John Grinder who discovered it, spread it forth, and many other psychotherapists and psychologists took it forward to the point that it's a must-have technology in the corporate sector, and God willing, in our student sector.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And why NLP is a very pivotal topic for any knowledge seeker. So, in your paradigm, why it is so pivotal?
It's a good question that you ask. It's like this. We are normal people, and it's like we don't learn everything from birth. We see the environment around us, or teachers, parents, teachers. There's a lot of visual stimuli, TV, mobile phones, cartoons, laptop, etc. And we pick up that, and through trial and error, we may learn and reach a certain level of proficiency. But 1% of humanity, they are cut above. It's like they are born geniuses, okay, or they practice so much that they become incredibly successful at what they do. Now, all of us cannot be exactly like that, but with NLP, you have a certain way of learning called modeling, and a way of understanding how the brain works, that without having to struggle for 15, 20, 25 years, like how an expert or a genius would have, or without having the same birth gifts of a genius, we too can reach at least 90, 95% of that level in a very short span of time. In this, let me share a small story. Another good expert in NLP who brought it to mainstream was Anthony Robbins. We know him as Tony Robbins, a very tall guy, very good professional speaker, and he's helped thousands of people achieve their dreams in life. When he started out, he was an expert in modeling, and he went with a business proposal to the US Army. He told the military that I can bring 90% of your shooters to 90% level of your best shooter in just 3 days or 1 week, something like that. The generals started laughing. It's impossible. It has taken years and years to train our best sniper or sharpshooter. But they took him up on the offer. What he did, he got the best 3 or 4 shooters and studied them, how they held the gun, how they saw the target, how they adjusted the scope, how they loaded them. Every little detail he just observed, understood, modeled that, including their mindset. He asked the shooter, what do you think before shooting the target? What is your mindset? Do you think of anything other than your target, or do you think that you've already shot the target? So he had a list of a questionnaire, 20, 30 questions of even the mindset. He even noticed the breathing pattern before the shot, during the shot, and after the shot. All of that he took and taught 100 people who were terrible shooters, who people thought that these guys cannot hold a gun ever. And in 1 week's time, 90% of these shooters came very close to the elite shooter.
Wonderful.
The generals are, this is like a miracle. What have you done? You just hypnotize them or something? No, he just applied NLP in a systematic, mathematical way, modeled the best success, and bravo, he got the success shooters. This can be done in a military setup of shooting. Imagine transferring this into the corporate sector for sales, for design, for engineering. And imagine in the student sector, a student is getting 50, 60, and 70, wants to get 95, 96, 97. If we model the students who are getting 97, 98, and bring it to the guys getting 40, 50, 60, they are sure of getting 85% at least, and maybe they'll get 90%. They don't have to pay millions of rupees to tuition or get scolded by their parents and all that. Nothing. Model the best steps and follow that, it will work. That's where NLP is so important for it's a form of success engineering, you can say. mindset and success engineering.
Yeah. I think you coined the very nice word, success engineering, and very, very nicely you describe about it. How and when the NLP started? Could you please put some lights on it?
Late and early 70s. Late 1960s and early 70s it started. It became very big in the 1980s and early 90s. Then there was a little bit of a lull time when I think we moved from normal technology to this IT space and all that. So after the dot-com period, there was a little bit of a lull. And now again, there's a resurgence where people feel that more and more employees need people skills, more people need to communicate better, apply knowledge. So it's again finding a resurgence.
Perfect, perfect. And what is the NLP and its type? What are the different type of NLP we have?
It's
Types
a
of it.
standard. It's
Yeah.
standard of neuro-linguistic program with 10 basic rules. In any detailed course, we'll be able to convey that. And it's pretty vast subject. After 10 basic rules come in NLP, we have strategies. And the strategies are largely mindset based. They
Mindset.
study a person because people are usually thinkers of three types. They're either visual, they're either auditory means they listen, or they're touchy feeling, or the kinesthetic.
Mindset.
So they understand a person's nature and then they give these strategies to them step by step. And once they master these strategies, a person is able to develop their own strategy to tackle any problem. A large amount of this has to do with mindset and following the strategy properly. Like if you don't practice the exercises for a few months, there'll be a dip in performance. So
Yeah.
you should have your own discipline. And NLP also teaches you to be disciplined and prioritize and always model other successful people who I'm very sure set a good example in practice, in being dedicated and all that.
Yeah. So you mean like consistency is something is the key, right? That's what
Yeah,
you wanted to find. Yeah.
these
So
all.
do you recommend NLP for teachers?
Yes, I do. Absolutely, I do. Because if teachers know NLP, they will understand that all the students in the classroom are not alike. If a teacher is visual, and let's say half the class is visual, half the class will perform very well. But the teacher will be upset. Why is the remaining half of the class not up to the mark? And he may unnecessarily be scolding them, or the teacher may get upset, the student may get upset, the parents may get upset. But it's just a matter of communication. They are auditory and kinesthetic. The teacher is not. If the teacher learns NLP, he or she will teach them a mix of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Short example I'll give you is there are students who, when they see diagrams and they see mathematical formulae, they may not learn. But that same thing is given as a voice over recording, they're able to learn faster because they're auditory. And there are 10% of students, they need to touch and feel. So if you show them geometric like a cone, cylinder, circle, they were touching and feeling, and then you teach them pi r square, 4 by 3, pi r cube, and so on, it'll immediately go into their head. So NLP will bring out the best in a teacher and make sure the entire classroom performs with the least amount of stress for either the student, parent, or the teacher.
Wonderful, wonderful to know. What positive impacts a student will get after learning the NLP? You briefly
The
touch upon that,
student
but in a summary,
a lot of self-esteem and self-confidence, especially
self-confidence.
students who have backgrounds where they are easily traumatized, or they feel threatened or scared by their environment, or they feel a fear from parents or peers, fear of failure. These days there's so much stress in the students due to this pandemic period of staying at home, online coaching. Many kids feel upset that they cannot afford laptops, they have to go through phones. So they have that self-esteem issue and stress issue. All of that can be erased by a systematic coaching of NLP, where the student discovers the inner beauty and the inner success potential they have. And with that, they finally eradicate the stress and they start achieving better and better without feeling the pressure of, competing too much with those whom they unnecessarily cannot compete and so on. So they discover their own path of success without stress. And who knows, they may end up achieving a lot more than even those
Absolutely,
who are privileged and
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the same question. I know. Can you put the light on how professional will get benefit after learning the NLP?
professional will grow in career. They will become better at communication with others. They will be better at establishing rapport. NLP teaches how to develop rapport with others using a technique called pacing and leading. So with all these techniques, they will find that their people skills improve, and this kind of enthusiasm will be infectious to their entire teams, to their team lead if they are not the leader, to their juniors if they are the leader. This steady growth of leadership capabilities and achievement consciousness will help their career within the team, within the company, and later on as they grow towards the growth in the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
So I think is something that every corporate employee should have, every student should have, and even entrepreneurs should have. Because entrepreneurs these days get a huge amount of stress and so on. For de-stressing and staying on focus, even they will gain from NLP strategies and techniques.
Perfect, perfect. Could you please touch on the placebo effect? Although you have touched upon a little bit briefly in the beginning, could you please touch upon again the placebo effect, please?
About what? I didn't get the question. About
Placebo effect.
placebo effect.
Placebo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Placebo. Earlier, I discussed the example of the medical condition where
Yeah.
one pill had content, one pill had sugar, so on. So this overall placebo effect is all about how the mind conditions a kind of achievement based on self-belief. I'll give one more example. It's called the confidence stick. That's also a form of the placebo effect. Now, the confidence stick is when coaches found that some people had difficulty in swimming coaches, and these guys had no problem with the swimming technique. It was just a kind of fear of water, fear of drowning or whatever. So the coach will tie a stick to their hands and say, as long as this stick is there, you will not drown. Now you swim. So the kids have so much belief in the coach that okay, the stick will prevent me from drowning. They go through the swimming technique and actually succeed. Okay. So this is a different form of placebo effect. Similarly, one example of Soviet Russia, I will tell you. In Soviet Union times, Russia produced the best weightlifters and wrestlers and so on. One of their techniques was this NLP placebo effect combination, where the coach will tell a weightlifter that this is 180 kilos, you have to lift it today. He'll struggle and lift 180. Say next entire 2 weeks, you're going to lift 180 before your competition. And when the athlete goes home, the coach will add 5 kilos, 2.5 kilos, yet 2.5 kilos to the other side of the plate. Now it is 185 kilos. So next day, this guy will struggle somehow, and while he's struggling, the coach will say, yesterday only you lifted, come on, come on. So he will somehow manage and lift 185, mind over matter comes. After 3 days, the make it 190. After another 3 days, he'll make it 195. And at the time of the competition, the athlete will be able to lift 200.
Wow.
Because his thinking it's only 180.
His brain
Okay.
has got trained, tuned.
But the mind, so 180, I can do it, I can do it. So that's the kind of conditioning is muscles that it's only 180 and they somehow get motivated and they lift the heavier weight. So all these are examples of the placebo effect. The sugar pill, they can, modifying the weight and so on. So it's about self-belief. You can say placebo effect is the power of self-belief. In short.
Yeah. Okay. Do you recommend any books to refer to get some more information on NLP?
There are books, there's a lot of content, there are a lot of videos. The thing is, this subject is an ocean. It's very vast because you're having research from 1970s till now. Okay. So you have to be specific in which kind of books of NLP you should get. I would recommend an author like Steve Andreas. In fact, we will give this in our feedback after this.
Sure.
The Andreas is someone who was first trained as a psychologist and psychotherapist, and he started practicing another form of healing called Gestalt therapy. Later, he discovered NLP in the 70s and took it to a very high level. So, person was already trained in psychology. He came across Bandler and Grinder's material, and who best to interpret it than someone who has already studied the brain? Which is why his books I find are very useful. And after you go through a basic of Steve Andreas' material, then you can go through the basics. Grinder, Bandler, they have written books, and you have so many. I think you have 500,000 YouTube videos, sources, and different PPTs and live sessions. See, it's not just about book. NLP needs a bit of a live session. You need a trainer to actually help out a person in the classroom or session, because a lot of concepts the student will get the confidence only when the trainer is nearby to help them out. Just by reading, they will not apply it.
Correct.
So you need a mix of classroom teaching and material. But as a starting point, let them go through Steve Andreas' material.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for recommending it. How the exam fear and the public speaking fear can be avoided and or can be completely eliminated.
This is the one of the best advantages for NLP that we have to teach for students. The getting rid of the exam fear and the fear of public speaking. See, NLP teaches how we think, how the brain is structured. Right now, all human fears, whether they are from exam or whether they're fear of speaking in public or fear of sports competition, fear of swimming, anything, they come from some deep-rooted trauma which the person may have experienced as a child or during adolescence. And that trauma gets frozen and stored as a negative memory. And every time something similar to that incident happens, that memory is,
Yeah.
the fear is seen in a large way. The brain is seeing it like a theater screen. They don't see it. For example, I'm having this little dongle. They don't see it like this. They see it like a theater screen. And when they see it as a theater screen, NLP teaches you have a mind-body effect. A little bit of stress happens. A little bit of cortisol hormone is released, and the heart starts beating faster. Okay. Once the heart beats faster, the body takes the feedback. Oh, I'm feeling stressed, and it goes back to the brain. Oh, I'm feeling stressed. It becomes a negative feedback, and the person gets totally stressed out and doesn't perform. So you reverse this process. NLP teaches how to visualize what you fear in a smaller and smaller and smaller way till it looks so small that you imagine it as a black and white screen. For example, a simple example, Abra, do you have any such fear of anything? Can you tell me, can you share any fear you have?
Sometimes I was very studious and I was very good at studies. I wanted to get the best marks in all the schools. Sometime
Okay.
I might do well in the exam, but still I will have some kind of fear. Okay, well, should I get it? And how the evaluator evaluate my paper and so on. That for a long time I had that is
Yeah, that
fear.
fear is a fear which is based on a future outcome. What happens is we imagine a negative future. Now the same thing, it has not happened. So when you stay in the present moment and you imagine that the question paper that you're going to get is one you already know the answers to, then the brain will increase your confidence level. That's one step which we can trick our brain to perform. Second is, if you close your eyes and at that time imagine that you're already seeing your report card with 98, 97, 98, 97, how would you feel? If you're seeing yourself in the future at 97, 98 or so on, automatically you feel happy and positive and confident.
Confident.
And then when you confident, and then when you write your exam with that approach, you're bringing that confidence into your brain, into your hand, and into your entire approach. And you lose the fear of the question, you lose the fear that you'll get less marks. This tactic of NLP can get rid of the exam fear. That is one. Now, because you are a good speaker, you don't have the fear of public speaking. But those who have, for them, this is another approach. For them, we teach them to visualize certain ways by which they get rid of the fear. In fact, when we take sessions for students, I'll be giving 3 or 4 such strategies. And you will see a miracle. I tell you, if there are 30, 40 students in our video and they're all having fear of speaking, after a session, all of them will start speaking on the spot. I have done this to 500 students in one shot. Impressive. 500 of them started speaking after this session. It's so powerful because it goes directly into the core emotional subconscious of the brain. The subconscious is 10 times more powerful than the conscious mind. This is another NLP discovery, and even psychologists have discovered that. So we are going to target the subconscious into raising their confidence, eliminating the traumatic experience memories, and creating memories of the successful future. The new memory that is created, even if it has not happened, the brain thinks it has happened. So the brain will generate positive molecules rather than cortisol. There are 4 positive molecules. It's a scientific fact. Oxytocin, melatonin, serotonin, dopamine. These are 4 positive molecules. When these are generated, the brain helps you start perform better. These are the opposite of cortisol. Cortisol is that horrible negative hormone that causes stress, makes the adrenaline gland function faster, and we put on more weight and we become slow and sluggish. All that is due to cortisol. So with NLP, you can bring the cortisol level down, raise the dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, melatonin level up. It's actually very scientific and biochemistry in a way. Using your brain, you improve your biochemistry as well.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. And in general, what's your advice to young generation, including job seeker? Because actually, a lot of layoffs has happened, and if most of the people who got the layoff, unfortunately, are in tremendous stress, and they want their confidence is already shattered. And how? What are the advices you have for them, especially
For
for
them,
job seeker?
we would need a full session to help them out because it's a very vast topic. Because this is NLP will help them overcome the short-term stress, but for the medium term and long term, they have to apply NLP. They have to apply mind power. They have to apply certain modeling skills of other people who cope. Because what this pandemic has shown is, if 80% people suffered, 20% have thrived also. What have they done differently? They have to model. They have to break free from certain set patterns that are holding them back. So NLP will help in dealing with that. Like for those who lost job and are facing an income problem, they have to understand what are the other ways in which they can get income, even if that is a job that they would have hesitated doing. They have a block that, okay, I'm an IT guy, I'll only code. No, if you're an IT guy and you don't have a job and you're very good at making biryani, you sell biryani and you make 30, 40,000 a month. invest that in the stock market, make 4 lakhs. People invested and made 5 times, 6 times money in the stock market after the pandemic crash. Those guys took the risk and they made money. Likewise, people became entrepreneurs. A true story. One IT guy did open a biryani center and he's made 60,000 a month in Bangalore. I had written an article about this. My cousin gave him that article. He got inspired and he started selling biryani. It worked. Like that, tomorrow there'll be a person who's another person. True story. They're very good at gymming. They're very good at fitness. They become fitness instructors because they got laid off from their 30,000 job or whatever. They started earning 40,000 a month from fitness instructions. See, what happens is they have ability to earn. NLP says everyone has the same mental resources and brain power that every other person has. But problem is they've created social blocks, family blocks. Oh, what will my father-in-law say? What will my cousin say? Hey, my uncle is in US. He will say, he's cooking biryani and my respect is gone. Nothing like that. One beautiful thing about foreign people, let me just talk about Americans, Australians, and all that. The guy may be working in an IT company, but part-time he will go and paint the roof. Part-time he will go and do electrical work.
Yeah.
My cousin lives in Canada and they're paying rent of $2,000 for a home. The home is owned by a plumber. The plumber has only done 10th pass. Whereas our IT people there are struggling without a job, who are laid off and so on. All jobs are precious. All skill is to be respected. In New Zealand, the truck driver earns more than the software engineer. So one should respect human skill and get over that barrier that I will do only this. The lack of flexibility is something they have to eliminate. They can take help of coaches and therapists to do that. And once they do, they can unleash themselves and start earning like that. After that, they have to follow other coaches who will help them in financial planning. Many people who are suffering, they're not financially planned. Do you know, Abrar bhai, that 99% of software engineers don't have a demat account? So when you don't have a demat account, you cannot invest in the next Infosys. Whereas people who invested in Infosys in 1998, 1 lakh rupees are sitting on 2 crores today. It has given 200 times returns. So when you don't have a, how will you let God help you when you don't help yourself? Example, right? So
So
people
there is
have
an
to change.
example of like actually we need to do our part and then trust in God. We need to do our part. Yeah.
So God is ready to help, but you should also, open a demat account, set up a small business, open your eyes to other avenues of making money. Become a little bit entrepreneurial even in your work. A person who's entrepreneurial will never get fired. As my HR experience with I've dealt with other companies and other HRs, any employee is a little bit entrepreneurial also. They call them intrapreneurs. They never get fired because the boss knows that this one guy can do the work of 3 people without being asked to do so. Okay, so it's a form of self-responsibility, awareness of what the company needs, and they keep asking a question. This is another thing I've noticed. It's a success secret. These entrepreneurs ask a question to themselves: what more can I do for my company that will increase
Taking
the
the
profits? This is a
accountability. Yeah. Taking the accountability.
exactly the accountability and a desire to help the company increase in profits. Once that mindset comes, that guy or that girl can never be sacked. Whatever be the
Unstoppable.
recession, that kept in the company. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is another day we'll have a talk specific for this. All the strategies to help people who have been, suffering from income loss. Because NLP is a tool for this. We need to give them strategies beyond the basic. We'll do that. Have
Sure,
asked
sure.
this question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And you narrated about your past experience and how a student realized and cleared the interview. Could you, for the benefit of all, could you please share that one more time here, please? Yeah.
These are kids who are very brilliant. They know all the questions, they know all the software, they know the C++, they know the Java, they are experts in SQL and all that. But when they sit in front of the interview panel, something happens, their tongue gets tied or they stop talking, they have a fear, their heart starts beating faster and they start mumbling their answers and so on. So I did some research on them and I found that they have a fear of being mocked because they come from backgrounds where English was not the medium of instruction, right? So they may have studied in Tamil or Hindi till 10th grade. In 11th and 12th, suddenly they're thrown into this English field and they're not able to communicate in English properly. Their pronunciation may not be correct and they develop a complex, an inferiority complex because of that. So in their entire 4 years or 5 years of college, they don't speak in English for fear of being mocked by those who know English. Okay. So this creates a block and they don't perform. So what I did is I gave them strategies and visualizations where they lost the fear of speaking. So one example I gave the student was, imagine when you enter the interview room that you are the owner of this company and coming there to help the interviewers ask the right questions. That
Perfect.
immediately changes mindset, and he started answering all the questions.
Perfect. Perfect.
So it's about a mindset shift. So like this, for every student, I customize a strategy, and they all started.
Yeah.
So to see the person and give them a custom NLP strategy to overcome the problem. But it works. You have to practice a bit, and after they clear, I tell them, okay, now that you cleared, don't stop learning your English. You practice that and have the visualization that in the future you can become a TEDx speaker, or in the future you can teach others to speak. So that gives them a further confidence and a desire to do well. So we have to set them up for success throughout their life, not just in that moment.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. And could you please touch on something called emotional intelligence? How the NLP and emotional intelligence is a very emerging topic. How these two
Yes.
are correlated? How these two
They
are
are,
linked?
they are because of NLP researchers, things like emotional intelligence and other things were discovered. They found out that life is not just about mugging up or left brain activity. You need to have emotional intelligence. You need to have right brain creativity and so on. So emotional intelligence will improve when you learn NLP. You will learn to control your stress, learn to control your emotions, and you'll be a more well-rounded and balanced person. So it's definitely a beneficial from NLP.
Yeah. So the similar pattern, the NLP and design thinking. And the design
Yes.
thinking also is now it's become a very very vast and wide topic, because in Lean Six Sigma, whether you do green belt or black belt, and design thinking is very much appreciated and all that. How these two are
Subject
connected?
design thinking is again a very vast and complex subject. How NLP will help is through modeling. What NLP students can do with design thinking experts is get the best design thinkers. What are they doing right? How are they designing? How are they thinking? What is their approach? Do a modeling of that in depth, and that can be transferred to the juniors who just started design thinking. And you will see an exponential improvement in the design thinking performance of the inexperienced ones just by careful, intricate modeling of the successful design thinkers.
Perfect, perfect answer. Perfect. And does NLP teach on planning and prioritizations?
Again, through modeling, what NLP will do is pick the best prioritizer, pick the best planners, those who've succeeded in your team through planning, those who've achieved the maximum goals through planning, prioritization, and strategy. What have they done for that topic? They will model onto the other topic, and then you can have your own customized planning and priority schedule. They're all interlinked, because without good planning and prioritization, you can't apply the NLP success strategies. You have to have a discipline. So successful guys will give their inputs, and you have to model it onto yours and then apply the strategies.
Yeah. Let me ask you one question in the form of scenario. There are two
Yeah.
students. One student is brilliant, always 90 plus above. Another student who is average, 60 is considered to be his maximum range. and
Okay.
uh, and what the speciality about person B is, he always remembers it, applies it, and everything. So once he remembers, and he tried to picturize it and try to remember the things how we can apply and all that. And the person A, who's good, very extremely good, and secure the best score and all that. And but eventually he forgets and doesn't know how to apply the concept and all that. So in this scenario, in this paradigm, to whom you will give endorsement and why?
I would immediately give endorsement to the person who's, though getting little less marks, is able to apply the concepts and doesn't forget something that he learns to apply. Because that person will be an instant asset to the company in any division, in any area, in any field. They will be like fish to water. They'll start earning profits for the company. But at the same time, I will not reject the 90% person also. I will hire the 90% guy also, model how the 60% person is applying and learning and adapting, and teach that modeling to the 90% guy. Then this 90% guy with this approach will also be a massive asset to the company in, say, a research and strategy division. So it will be a win-win if they first hire the lesser scoring guy, learn from him, and then hire this guy as a trainee and bring him up to scale on that. It will be a win-win for the company to follow this strategy.
Yeah, very good response on that. And you also have done a massive contributions. You have given your audio in cockcareers.com website, and also I went through it. I truly became a big fan of you. And could you please
Right.
touch upon on that website, please?
Obvious was started by me and my partners, Mr. Hamid, and not Mr. Hamid's brain vision was to have a kind of a platform where affordable learning can be given.
Okay.
Okay. So Mr. Anjum joined me in that, and both Mr. Anjum and I started making videos with the help of Mr. Hamid's sponsorship. And slowly it grew and grew into us having almost 35 to 40 training videos. Our dream is that it should be so affordable that even for a small amount of fees, everyone should get courses that otherwise they'll have to pay thousands or 10,000 rupees. We wanted it to reach the masses. So we started that in that earnest. It's been just a year since we started it, and we are not heavily marketing it, all that. We are just telling that to schools, come join, sign up and learn, so that they get the information at very low cost, low rate. And tomorrow, in the next 4 or 5 years, I think Mr. Hamid will want it to be given free to all core students. We're going to add more courses, and the vision is to help.
Perfect.
They're
Very,
very
very
generous.
noble service, actually. Definitely a lot of our wishes and thought with you. I'm sure that you will continue to support, and whatever our students, all the people across the globe will definitely get benefited from that resources. What I went through few of the material, truly enjoyed it, and it gives a very wonderful, authentic and reliable sources as such. So very all the best, and I'm sure that it will definitely reach to a next level and have a great success as such.
Sure, we'll do that. And thank you so much for having me, and thank you
Yeah.
for the thought-provoking questions. I'm sure it will be of immense help for all people who listen to this.
Yeah. So one last question actually before we wrap up. Your overall journey as a NLP master. Could you please share us actually like why every, whether it's a manager, whether it's a knowledge seeker, whether it's student, whether it's a teacher, whether it's engineer, everybody must need to know.
An ongoing journey. So far, what I can say is it has been incredibly satisfying, because by God's infinite grace, by Allah Ta'ala's infinite grace, I'm able to transform a person's life from being an introvert who's scared into someone who's performing, and tomorrow they can help their families and help others. So we can create a chain reaction of success, and that God has helped me to do this. I'm extremely grateful, and it's been truly satisfying.
And many more wishes, and thank you so much for all your time you had, and lot of detailed insights we went through, and you accepted the invitation, and I'm very glad that lot of things we discussed together. Thank you so much, and I'm really excited to another time. Maybe I will come up with some other question actually. We shall meet
So
in next time also as well. So thank you so much, and you definitely have a great day ahead as such.
thank you so most welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye bye. Bye bye.